The 11 Laws of Likability. Book by Michelle Tillis Letterman. Chapter 3. Know Your 3 V's. Have you noticed that every genuinely likable person has one key thing in common? If you haven't, I'll give you a hint. It's the fact that they're great communicators. Now, this necessarily doesn't mean that they're confident, great at public speaking, or that they always know the right thing to say. Instead, it simply means that they know their 3 V's really well. The author defines the 3 V's as the 3 keys to successful communication, and therefore, the secret to likability. How do they work? We can understand the role of the 3 V's by breaking down their individual roles in communication. The first V stands for verbal. Your verbal communication is characterized by the words you say in conversation with someone else. Next up is vocal, or how you say what you're saying. And lastly, we have visual communication, which can best be defined as your body language. In every single conversation you have, each of these 3 V's work together to convey your message to the receiver. And they have the power to change the entire course of your conversation. To examine how they work in practice, let's consider a couple of examples. Imagine for a moment that someone told you, "I love you so much." But what if they yelled it while shaking their finger in your face? Would you feel loved? Or would you feel threatened, angry, and scared? On the flip side, imagine that someone told you, "I really, really hate you. I think you're the worst person in the world." But what if they said it with a big smile on their face and they were giving you a tender hug? Would you instantly feel enraged? Or would it take you a minute for the vile nature of their words to ring up on you? I think it's a pretty safe bet that, in both cases, everybody would opt for the latter response. Why? Because whether the person is saying something nasty or something kind, in both hypothetical scenarios, their words don't match up with their tone of voice and their body language. And both of those things impact our perception of the conversation. The same is true for pretty much every interaction we have with people. And if you're sending weird or conflicting signals with one of your 3 V's, it can alter not only the course of your conversation but that person's perception of your likability. So, as you approach future conversations, try to make sure your 3 V's are aligned when you're talking. It's also important to consider the factors that can get your V's out of whack. For example, if you're trying to sound confident but you actually feel really nervous, this could cause some internal confusion and result in you coming across as fake. Similarly, if you're trying to act like you like someone when you don't, the same result can occur. That's why the author believes that it's important to be authentic whenever possible, especially when that means being honest with yourself. So if you're nervous, just admit it. Go ahead and tell someone and don't try to fake it. Likewise, if you dislike your conversation partner, admit that to yourself and do your best to be extra honest and positive. And last but not least, remember the tip we discussed in the very first chapter. Always approach interactions by looking for the good in others.